My name is Caroline Mureu. I'm a prosecution counsel working with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. I currently serve in Murang'a County, where I prosecute in the murder section. I do homicide cases. So I watch a lot of CSI to just get pointers. And also, as a result, I deal with a lot of femicide cases, a lot of GBV cases, from the lower courts to the high courts. And for those of us who may not have a legal background, lower courts are what we call the magistrates' courts. The higher courts are the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. But for now, I am in both courts. And I have been practicing for the last 11 years now. And most of those have been with the ODPP. And I'm happy to be here and to actively contribute to this conversation. Thank you. And we can welcome Jerry because she's just arrived.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Megwe. I work at USIKIMYE. I serve as the executive director. I know Caro. I don't know how to blow her trumpet because I feel like she did not tell you how amazing she is and how many cases of femicide she has helped me with. And how important her work is because she truly believes in the law. She truly believes in changing the law and how the law can be applied. I remember telling her about a case about battered women syndrome. And she was like, oh, I know that. And I was like, oh, finally, somebody who understands me, who doesn't think I'm mad. And thank you. You are amazing. You do such beautiful work.
Thank you.
I am currently working with her on our there's a petition. Oh my God, I started Poleni.
That's telling us
I'm not a lawyer, so yeah. I will start however. You will just understand me as we go along. We are currently working on a petition, and this petition is to make femicide a distinct law. Guess who is sitting with me on that panel when it comes to the side of the law? Thank you, Caroline. And she's the one who interrogates the points. When I say that, she's like, in the law, it doesn't take your sentiments. It's I know you want this to go like this, but that's not how it works, because some of us are more passion-driven, we may not know the law like that. We know a bit of it. Just to serve us, unajua, like the way you know a little bit of Luo that you can go and borrow water, like that. So that's how I know the law. Just enough to barely make it. But yeah, so she's been amazing. At USIKIMYE, we work towards preventing, supporting, and protection of, and as well as advocating for survivors of gender-based violence, as well as working against femicide. So I'm really glad to be here. I almost forgot. Nilikuwa huko Industriaria kwa, what is it called? Police. Yes, I've just come from there for work. So I'm glad that I managed to run away and make myself be here. So thank you. And I hope this will be an interactive panel. Msikuwe very serious hivi. The things we're about to deal with are heavy matters. They are heavy. But that's the country we are living in. And so we have to face it. And we have to look at it. And we have to judge it as well. So thank you.
All right. Very interesting. So now, where do we start from? The law, as far as we know it, has no clear definition of femicide. And the closest we have come to try and legislate femicide, I think it's sometime in 2013 or 2015, we enacted the Protection Against Violence, Domestic Violence. The Protection Against Domestic Violence Act. That's the closest we have come to attempt to deal with matters femicide. Because the Constitution is there. We have Article 27, we have Article 28, we have Article 2 that incorporates the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. The Convention on CEDAW in food is what again?
I don't remember.
Discrimination against women. A convention on discrimination against women.
Ending discrimination.
Ending discrimination against women. Yeah, those are international conventions that are there that speak specifically to protection of women. There's a Maputo Protocol.
African Child,
There's
Children.
the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. We have several of these charters that then, by virtue of Article 2 of the Constitution, then they become part of Kenyan law. But then we don't really have a robust system in law that then speaks specifically to femicide and then goes ahead to then create avenues to prevent. Because then it's not just, my argument with law has always been we should not just enact law to punish, but as well, can we do something that then would help before the fact? Yeah, that's why the protection against domestic violence is important, because then you can go to court and get a protection order if then you're facing domestic violence. So perhaps we can start by maybe Caroline, by virtue of the fact that very many murder cases are as a result of domestic violence. Perhaps maybe she can highlight her experience, and then we can pick up the conversation from there.
Okay. Wow, that's a very heavy statement, Myron, especially when you say give a highlight. There's so much going on in the gender-based violence space. And perhaps femicide has been the one that we've seen the most, because I know Jerry will say this, and she keeps reminding us that that's the ultimate, that's the culmination of it's the highest form of gender-based violence. Femicide is the highest form of gender-based violence. And earlier on, the statement that social media has helped us know these cases is partly true, but the reality on the ground is that these cases have increased. Social media has actually helped us know more about them, but from where I sit, there are more. And my experience has been, in the last 10 years, for example, the numbers of gender-based violence victims have increased. And I say have increased, and I use that in quotes. I say that because where I sit, in a week, we wouldn't have a case of defilement, right? Now, when schools closed, and I know a colleague of mine is in this room, if there's one time prosecutors hate, it's holidays, because that's when we have more and more cases. The reality of gender-based violence is it goes for the most vulnerable of victims. That is in society, be the women, the children, the elderly, and now we are seeing men coming out more to say, listen, I'm also a victim. And that also tells me that we no longer have a classified group of vulnerable. Everyone is a potential victim. We don't have the laws on femicide. So when a file is brought to my desk, it only reads murder. XYZ murdered ABC. But the intricacies of that murder aren't on this paper. It's just so-and-so killed or so-and-so murdered so-and-so. So even when a magistrate or a judge is looking at that, they can't see the domestic violence because it's not written that XYZ murdered this and this person wakiwa kwa nyumba ama wakati walikuwa wanapigana. It leaves it at that. So it's only during hearing that I'm like, wait a minute. Or when I'm going to court, I know the facts, but the judge there doesn't have those facts. And so there's a lot of underreporting because there's no classification of these offenses from a gendered perspective. That's the word I was looking for. From a gendered perspective, to understand that this crime has happened. I mean, people are killing each other every day. Let's also not lie to each other, right? But why this specific crime? Is there a behind the scenes? And that has also been a huge hindrance for us when it comes to getting higher sentences, higher convictions, because sinimada tu kama ile ingine, right? When someone is sitting there, they're not seeing that difference. And that's why it's time for us to ask ourselves the hard question. Do we need that law? How does it look like? What existing legal framework do we have? And how can we use that existing legal framework to help us make strides as we wait for a specific law on femicide?
All right, thank you very much. So, Jerry, first of all, thank you very much for the work that you do at USIKIMYE. You do a lot of advocacy work that then goes to aid in highlighting some of these issues. Perhaps maybe you can just highlight for us what your experience has been generally first, in an abridged version.
I feel like when we talk about femicide, so many nuances that should be captured in femicide keep on missing. Because there is the aspect when you say, oh, femicide, and everybody's like, so why are you all talking about women being killed? But there's so many aspects in how women are being killed right now. One that we are seeing that has escalated is the brutality. It's bad. It's bad. I mean, when we started, we thought, hey, this is it. Last year, you remember when we went marching? We thought that was the worst part of it. And then the brutality has kept on increasing. And the number of cases we are receiving, even as I came here, I was sent for a case and I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God, she's 74 years old. She's dead. She was murdered in the village. And so many cases, and also the number of perpetrators doing these cases. But for me, always is the fact that most perpetrators have gotten away with it. Am I saying the truth?
Correct.
Yeah, because a lot of times people hide the perpetrators. So there is all those nuances. For me, I will start with majority of the femicides that we're looking at are generally involve sexual violence or issues of intimate partner violence, right? So it could be by an ex, it could be by a current partner, it could be by somebody who's wanting you. So stalking has also contributed to it. That's for the intimate partner femicide. We also have elder femicide, where elderly women are targeted. And so when we say that femicide targets women specifically, is how many of you know men who have been killed simply because they're men? Somebody looked at you and said, oh, you're old. And so you are a witch. And so we are going to kill you. Do you know? So that's what has been happening in this country. A lot. It used to be just Kisii, but it spread. Kilifi. Moranga. We have 4 cases of 4 women who were killed in Moranga. They were branded witches and they were killed. And of course, we all know that because of capitalism, most of it are motivated by land. So you're a widow. Number one, when it comes to things like that, and that's why we have to look at this from a gendered view, is that you're a widow. Somebody looks at you and is like, nah, you don't deserve to live. We want your land. They kill you. You're branded a witch and you're killed. So that's something that is also very new, that is happening a lot more than it should happen. So that is another one. We have a lot of femicide, little girls. Little girls. I keep on saying this because every time I say it, it reminds me the violence that inherently women face. When the youngest child I have held is 4 days old, and she was raped, and she died by her own father. So that is the kind of violation we're looking at. So for me, my youngest has been 4 days. This year, we had an 11-month-old. So when you look at that, it's that giving you the nuances of why we are pushing for something like this, on why this needs to be its own distinct crime. All right, that is just some of the nuances I wanted to add on to that. But back into the abridged version, I'm sorry, I sometimes feel like I want to say nice things, but I don't have nice things to say. So in USIKIMYE, we do response. That's what we are mostly known for. Our response work is towards gender-based violence. So how we receive cases is in a couple of ways. One is walk-ins into our office. 2 is social media. We get my inbox is crazy. From my inbox, personal USIKIMYEs, we get a lot of cases, especially the ones that are not from Nairobi. We get a lot of them through social media, but we also do have a helpline, so that also contributes to how we also get cases. So once we get the cases you see highlighted are 0.001% of the work we do. In a general day, we get between 20 to 30 calls. And just to back it up, we are 10. USIKIMYE has a staff of 10, and that also includes the office assistant. Yeah? So you can imagine how hard and how rough that is. So we receive between that. Those could be calls, and I'm not including the walk-ins and I'm not including the DMs. I'm just saying the calls alone. Yes. So now from the call, we're able to base, is this something we can be able to tell you, hey, go to the police or go to the hospital? Some of them, that's just the aid they need. Somebody says, hey, I've been raped, or hey, this has happened. This is the help I need. Some, they want therapy. Some are dealing with things that happened to them in their childhood, and they need, help because they want to navigate and to understand why do I have recurring patterns or whatever it is that we need. So we receive that, and then from that, we're able to see, is this something that is urgent that we need to be able to go and respond? Or is this something we can be able to tell you where to go and how to handle it? And then after that, then if it is something that needs safety, we run safe houses. So we have safe houses. We have 3 safe houses in total. 1 is in the office, 2 are outside of the county. Of course, when people are recuperating, so they need place poa, right? So our safe houses are outside of the county. Our offices are in Soweto, Kayole. We are not bougie. We are there. We're in the community. That's why I'm interpassing my English with, I speak a lot of Sheng. I'm about to drop it. Anywho, so from there now we're able to determine the safety of the person. Does this person need a safe house? We also belong to a number of people, a network where we're able to also say, this person, if we put them in our safe house, they can be even in more danger. So we're able to transfer them to other safe houses as well. And also because generally our safe house is mostly full. So that's how our work looks like in terms of response and protection. From there, based on, do they want to go to court? Now that's where our biggest problems start. People sometimes don't want the cases to be prosecuted. We don't have enough evidence. And I'm standing in a court of law and I'm wondering, should I say this? That sometimes we do not get the necessary help from the duty bearers, for example, the police or DPP, yes, to help us and to enable us to prosecute these cases. So sometimes there is that helplessness. What do? You go to the police, unaambiwa, Juzi, literally. We went to the police. I was just there. I was very quiet. I did not want, because my activism was starting to bubble. And I was like, kesho ni maandamano, so I do not want anything that will make me be arrested. So I will keep myself quiet. And this policeman is telling this woman, ni mapenzi. She's been beaten. And her husband is a policeman. And he's telling her, nyinyi wanawake, mnahitaji kuelewa. Kidogo mapenzi. And I'm like, hey. Mandamana. Don't say anything. So in my head, I was like, how many women? How many people? Because let me tell you, when it's men, they laugh at them. Ha, umechapo kidu. When mwanaume, mbona umechapa? So it's all of us as a class of people who are being served that you can go to the police station and you'll be laughed out, or you'll be told, small love, like this. And you're here at the police station. Ukifanywa shopping, tunakuanga na wewe. And things like that. You'll be told any number of things. And I asked myself, how many women have walked into this police station? And it's a major police station. And I've been told this and have gone home and have never reported again. So many. So underreporting is massive. And even when you report, it's not necessarily that your case is going to ever come to court. And also, can we talk about how small the fines for domestic violence are?
Yes.
10,000.
That's a high one.
Yes.
That's very high, actually.
Yeah. The highest is 10,000. And that one is the one that one I actually got by somebody who was almost killed. And so the perpetrator paid, and later left, and he left. And we never saw him again. And so that's how our court case disappeared. And yet that girl lives with a scar from here all the way down her face. But 10,000. 10,000. And when I ask the officers of the court, why 10,000? They say because a lot of people, it's not just about the law. It's because a lot of domestic violence cases are dropped. And therefore, they need to put it as little as it is because, nyinyi women, you're very emotional, so you normally drop cases. So yeah, that was a reason I was given in Makadara court. So that's how I interact with the law. So that's our part of the law. And then we also have other programs. We run a feeding program. We feed 500 children every day in Soweto. We also do schools. We have SRHR. We have women that we run empowerment. We run a chama for. Our chama is as low as 10 shillings, all the way to 1,000 bob. Last year, our TRF was 1.3 million. I'm so proud of that.
That's good.
That's the best part of my job. No, not that one. The best part of my job is today, Stories and Scribbles Saturday, which happens on a day like this, where kids come together to read for fun. I need you to understand kwa mtaa. For some of you who've never been able to or have not come from there, getting a storybook is a miracle. And I cannot tell kids to dream if I cannot give them something to dream from. So just getting them to read means I'm expanding their worldview a little bit. Because sometimes when you come from certain places, you may be born there, live there, die there, and never even go to CBD. And that is the truth. And so for me, it's so important. And actually, it's just that I had a case. I wanted to come with a couple of them so that they can see how a court looks like, how lawyers look like. So that maybe, perhaps, I can maybe get one. For me, it's always one person at a time. It's never the massive movement. If I can get one child to dream, and maybe perhaps in 10 years or 20 years, stand here as a lawyer from Soweto, Kayole, everything I exist to do will have come to pass. So that is my favorite, stories and scribbles, because in a violence, we just sit there, we read, we enjoy, we play, we dance, we have fun. 6 o'clock, we each eat a biscuit, and then we go home. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how USIKIMYE looks like. And yeah, any other question before I take my sip? And we survive by trying to laugh at ourselves because
Yes,
it's never that
to.
serious
Never
in
that
this
serious.
country.
Yes.
Yeah, before you sit, perhaps you can just tell us.
People are overwhelmed.
What's your...
Opoleni kama nimeoverwhelmed. Plan.
No, it's good sometimes to know these things as raw as it is. So from your perspective and your interaction with the Kenyan justice system, how do you see our what next looking like?
How do I think what?
How do you see our what next looking like?
What next?
Hey, you need to even do the now before we go to the next.
Yes.
The
Perhaps
now,
you can do both then.
the now is already bad.
Yeah.
First of all, when I started this campaign, one of the children that, and by children I mean a dead child, is Mary Wambui. She died in 2021, right? And we've been here, not this good, but Milimani,
For 9 years.
for 4 years.
You were hard the other day?
We were had, is it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
For the
3
first
weeks
time.
ago.
For the first time.
Yes.
Should have been 13. That's how long she's been dead. She was 9 when we started. I mean, when she was killed. But the first time we were heard was 2 weeks ago. So for me, I feel like justice delayed is justice denied. Too many mentions, too many times we come to court, we are dismissed, sometimes on a technicality. We don't even understand why we are being dismissed. I feel like the courts are not friendly to people who don't understand law. And most of the time, we don't have advocates, to stand in for us, to explain or to break down the law for us. We, as USIKIMYE, with zero knowledge of the law, prepare witnesses. So every case you've seen USIKIMYE win, most of the time, it's us. We have to tell somebody, ukienda hapo, be bold, ongea hivi, do not hesitate, because we don't even have people who prepare. A lot of times, cases are lost because people don't have fare to come to court. So they're not able to come. How do you compensate? So, again, I'll go back to people who cannot afford, which is the majority of this country, really. 70% of this country don't have money. And the other 30%,
Well,
yeah. Anyway, let's not go there. Let's go to this 70%. Cannot afford fare to come to the court. I know for a fact that there is something called the Victim Protection Fund that exists in courts. Because I have never seen them give us fare or give somebody compensation, because for some of the women who are coming to court, they can't even afford to come to court, because if I come to court, then what do my kids eat that day? I survive by going to people's houses as a mama fua. So when I am raped, sometimes by my own employer, where do I get redress? This person has more money than I do. So a lot of times there is, an equal balance of power. So that means that the redress is not there. So for people like us, we have to ensure, if I'm bringing this person to court, I have to look for fair for the person who's going to take them to court. And then I have to ensure, because their day is wasted, that I make sure ninampatia the 1,000 or the 500 that they would have had for the day, just to encourage them so that they don't refuse to come to court. So those are some of the challenges. So when the case takes so long, it also means that tunakuja koti, we are told, mention. We come again, mention. For 4 years, how many mentions do you think we have had? Yeah, so we have like over 100 court cases that haven't been able to go anywhere. But we've had a few wins here and there. But we need, what next for the court is you need to become efficient. You know, hire magistrates if needed. I mean, have more prosecutors. I don't know what you need to do, but you need to start having cases move, you know. And also the dignity and the respect of the people who are coming to court, you know. I feel like that is something that is very important, that should also be looked at. And I know we are all for SGBV courts, but I am also particularly for more courts to be able to hear so that the cases don't lag as long. And that SGBV cases should be taken with the same weight as a thief, you know, because it also steals our time, steals our resources and every other thing, should be taken with the same heaviness. I would have said corruption, but we don't do anything about that. So, yeah. I would have said murder, but here we are with femicide. So, yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done. Thank you.
It's extremely overwhelming, especially, I'll tell you, I'm a practitioner, so I know what you're saying. So, well, I know for a fact, for example, the Sexual Offences Act, I think the judiciary has been trying to do something in regards to sexual offences.
What?
Specifically, no, database. Having an online database for registration and stuff. Now, as to the effectiveness.
Make it public.
Number one, as to the effectiveness, of that is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I also know that, for example, there is a proposal, I don't know if it's already been enacted for corruption cases to be terminated in 6 months. A proposal, I can tell you, as a practitioner, that's virtually impossible. You cannot charge 10 people, every person has their own lawyer, and you'll be confident to finish that case in 6 months. It's virtually impossible. Even if it's only one person, I can tell you, it's... So we are really joking a lot with what we have. Not that the judiciary is not doing, but then whatever it is that they're doing, they're barely scratching the surface. All right? So, Jerry, Carol.
Yes.
What next?
What are we not doing?
Yes,
maybe
what are
let's
we
start
not
from
doing?
there. What are we not doing?
So maybe we can start from there, yeah.
Okay. My mic is working, right? I'll also stand because I'm not used to sitting. I spend all my days standing. I'll pick up from where Njeri has stopped. First, the way she's described me is not how I ordinarily describe myself. I have never had anyone describe me like that. I almost teared up because I go to work and I do my work the way I do my work because it is the right thing to do. And everyone, and the people I have interacted with keep asking me, why are you not like your colleagues? And if you're a lawyer, you know what I mean when I say, why are you not like your colleagues? But I chose at a very early stage of my career to do the work that I do the way I do it because of two things. The first thing was a young boy called, we shall call him James. James was brought, he was 4 at the time, that was 2016, 2017. He had been defiled by his father over a time. Yeah, the stories are gonna be rough, sorry. Just get ready. And the reason this case was very peculiar for me is because the boy couldn't talk. And I hadn't realized that this boy wasn't able to talk because every time he gets to court, he sees his father. And it's going to, listen to this story, and it's going to tie into what Njeri has said. No one had ever taken me through a course on how to handle child witnesses. Now, child witnesses are some of the best witnesses you will ever have. A child, that 4-year-old, oh my God, they are the best. It's very unfortunate that they come to us when it's at the worst. But a 4-year-old will sit and tell you, and we are grown-ups here, aren't we, right? He will tell you or she'll tell you, aliingiza kasusu kwa kasusu yangu. Aliingiza kanyunyu. Iyo kanyunyu inatumiwa kufanya nini? Kususu. And the child is oblivious as to what they're saying. So James and I took me 8 months to figure out that 1, he's scared of his father. 2, that my magistrate is male. So when he gets into court, he sees everyone who is a perpetrator in his eyes. And so I went back to the drawing board and I looked for books and went online to find how do you interview a child witness. And then I figured, aha, I need to find out if this boy likes coloring. So I went to the local, you know the books they sell for 30 bob. I bought a bunch of them, and I told the mom, let this boy come to the office every 2 weeks and sit with me. As I'm doing my work, so he'll sit there. And he started drawing. And I'd come with different colors every day, toy cars, downloaded every cartoon on the Time, Batman, Paw Patrol. I didn't even know what they were. And you know what happened? When the first week, he didn't say anything. He drew and went home. Second week, same thing. The third week, what he did is, after he drew, he told me, Auntie, nimekuchorea gari. And I knew we had gotten a breakthrough. So I asked him, "I gari inaitwa nani?" So he described the car, and then I started asking him about what happened. The moment I mentioned what happened at home, guess what happened? He clammed up. And so for 2-3 months, we would go for mentions with my magistrate. I explained the situation to my magistrate, and he's the one who said, it's okay, we'll be mentioning it every month. So we'd had every other witness, the investigating officer, daktari, everybody, save for the minor. And by the time I got the minor on the stand, the boy was singing. Because the first thing I did is kick the father out. So it was just me, the mom, and the boy. And the magistrate was this fictitious person. We put like a little barrier. And I'd tell him, achana na uncle, just talk to me. Ukanichorea gari, alafu. And with time, and the only thing I wanted him to say, because that's what was in his statement, was, aliingiza nyoka kwa pupu. And I asked him, nyoka ilitoka wapi? Kwa susu. Who doesn't understand that? Don't we all get what he said? Exactly. And I got a judgment. And I went home and cried. And I cried a lot because I just did not understand what job is this I signed up for. I signed up to be pretty, slay queen. Here I am having to deal with this. My first rape case, I went home and cried as well. My first close to femicide case was this lady. She was 21. She had, you know how you slit a goat when you're going for nyama choma? She had a scar from here to here. And the doctor said it was 1 inch difference for her to die. Now, what was interesting is that the accused person came to court and said, nataka kuona complainant, because in his mind, what had happened to her? She was dead. And when we got to court, she was hidden. That lady was hidden by the family, was hidden by the in-laws. I personally gave money to the OCS to fuel the car to go find her wherever she is and bring her. Because what did they want to do? Withdraw the case. Huyu ni baba mtoto. And she told me, ukimfunga, watoto wangu hawana chakula. So you know what I told her? It's okay. Tutamtolea kesi, hakuna shida. The only thing I want you to do, tell us what happened. Then at the end, tell the court, Kamau ni bwana yangu na nimemsamehea. And of course, at that point, I said, quickly, objection, and we proceeded with the case. And in that process, a lot of things happened. I could tell who had influenced the case because I could see them. They were seated in court with me. They were members of our staff. They were my colleagues. And that's the reality of GBV. And I'm talking about 2016, 2017. Right now, what Njeri is saying is true. We don't have a kitty to give our witnesses, even when they come to testify. They are fair. I don't have. And when I make the request, the first thing is budgetary constraints. Thank you. And that's a reality we are all facing in the different sectors we are working in. But the one thing about GBV that we don't perhaps best appreciate is how these struggles are interconnected. When we talk about GBV and we talk about women, it's women as the victims, but the nuance that Njeri is also pointing out is the economic status of this country at this moment. It's very easy to look at aliuliwa. Are they able to come to court? Which face are they finding? Today I'm happy because, as you can see, in fact, I told a colleague of mine that I could tell the lawyers because we are all dressed in black. I chose purposely not to dress in black. Because on Friday, I stopped being a lawyer. In fact, if you tell me counsel, I tell you my name is Carol, hiyo ni kazi ya Monday. You have to literally leave it behind. You talk about the 74-year-old. It's interesting. This week I had a 74-year-old as well, victim, killed by her husband who is 82 with the help of 2 young men. And you know why? The man said, alikuwa ananisumbua. She was selling avocados and not remitting the money to the husband. And that intersection is very, very important because the duty bearers, one, we are overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed by budget constraints. We are overwhelmed by the knowledge of GBV. This intersection is so important because when I'm telling a court, please give this person life imprisonment, I'm not just saying because they committed this offense. I like the statement of iwe funzo kwake na wengine kama nani? Kama hao. I no longer use that. I come with data. UN has said this, and it is a hard task convincing judicial officers to get, and because the threshold is very high. Can we do cases in 6 months? Absolutely, yes. Actually, from personal experience, GBV are probably some of the cases if we wanted, we can easily implement 6 months work. When I served with Justice Matheka, we had a rule in the court I was, that for every defilement case that comes, we have the statements to the accused supplied on day 1, and in 2 weeks, we have the minor testifying. You know what that means? If the minor comes and says, alingiza kasusu kwa kasusu yangu, that makes sure that this person, even bond terms, the court has a better understanding of what happened. The court has a better appreciation. Everything is raw. You know, invoking, court is not a building, court is people. People ask me whether I've broken down in court. I break down every day. Today I carried my glasses because I was scared I'd break down. I break down every time I have a victim saying, nilingia kwa room, nikapata bwana yangu ama bibi yangu ameuliwa. But imagine hearing a case in 2 weeks. Wouldn't that be wonderful? GBV cases, from experience, hardly ever have more than 6 witnesses. The case I have done that has had the most was 10. Do you know how long I did that case for? The person was arraigned in August. I was transferred in October from that station. And by the time I left on October 5th, 2021, I had 10 prosecution witnesses, 5 defense witnesses, and a judgment in January. Now that came, thank you very much, that came with a very high price. What was the price? I had to have 4 duplicate files from the police. Where was one living? Somebody guess? In my house, under my mattress. Guess why? They wanted to pluck out the post-mortem, the P3 form, and my child had died. It was a 10-year-old girl. We charged this person with manslaughter. Guess why? Because it was the easiest thing for me to prove. I knew that if I go murder, I ran the risk of having this case 10 years. And I wanted it quickly. Where I currently serve, Murang'a High Court has over 600 murder cases. My court only, I'm dealing with about 300 murder cases only. Some of them as far back as 2012. We are in 2020? The reality is we are stretched, under-resourced. There's a lot of goodwill, but it's not translating into results. So we are in a bad situation. I don't even want to discuss what next, because we cannot discuss what next without appreciating how bad the situation is right now. And I know some people will say, you know, maybe Kara and Jerry are saying because they're in the sector, guys, read the newspaper. You don't need to go far. Talk to your parents, talk to your siblings, talk to your friends. Each one of us, in fact, statistically, we say that women, every 1 in 5 women has been sexually harassed. That number is probably becoming smaller and smaller. The problem is bad, and I don't know. At this point, maybe we need to call Jesus to come. Yeah. But the duty bearers, we understand our role, but are we resourced? Not just in terms of paper, because makaratasi is a big problem in government, but even in terms of knowledge, skill set. How do I handle you when you come? How do I tell you how to prepare for court? Do I have access to the victim? Some of my victims come from kilometers and kilometers away. I served in a station where I'd have to go an hour and a half to find my victims, to meet with them. How effective can I be? No matter how effective I'd want to be, okay? Yeah, so the challenge is big, and it's multi-sectoral. everyone. Defense counsels don't want to pick up these cases. And they'll tell us why, and I understand them. They are heavy. You're sitting there defending someone, and you see your daughter. You're just like, no, I can't do it. What then does that go to the quality of prosecution, quality of judgments, where there's no Myron telling the court, prosecutor didn't do the right thing. So what evidence are we able to sieve the right evidence? And so that when I go home, I say, you know what? Kamau went to jail, and I know I did the right thing. It's such a... Munaona shida? Are you appreciating the problem? Thank you. Then my work is done.
I can tell you for a fact, I love litigation. That's the one thing that I can do with my eyes closed. But Karu is right. The one thing that I struggle most with is defilement cases. In fact, in my many years of practice, I've never touched a defilement case until last year. That I'm still struggling with to date. I have been those people who don't want it to proceed because I do not know how I will cross-examine a child. And I picked this case because someone came to plead in my office, please. And it's someone I can't say no to. So then you have to take this file, and you do not know. I had a meeting with the victim, with the accused person, and asked him to read the statements, and asked him to put himself in the place of the magistrate and pass judgment on his own file. And he just shook his head, akasema, "Enyewe hii ni mbaya, sasa tufanye aje?" And I mean, that's the reality. So the unfortunate scenario, the unfortunate bit of this conversation is you've heard from the prosecutor who has direct interaction with the victim and who is supposed to then lead the court in finding the perpetrator guilty of this offense and he be punished so that then that punishment acts as a deterrent for the next person. Then you've heard from the person who interacts with the victims every day. Then there is Myron somewhere in his corner office, and now with the perpetrator, trying to wiggle his way around to figure out how then you can be able to move this guy from the jaws of the law. Now, the unfortunate reality is you'll find, just like Caro said, I mean, she had to move mountains to ensure conviction was met. Had she not, well, you've just heard, she has 300 files. So, of these 300 files, of course, there is one file, if you asked her now, she's probably not have had a look at that file. That's a reality. But perhaps because there is this file that then pricked her conscience, then she will concentrate on this file more for us to have these results. But then what happens to the 299 other files? Yeah? She was fortunate to find a magistrate or a judge who was willing to prioritize. But then you see, they're going over and above their mandate. The reality is this, even magistrate, our courts today, they have, what do they call this? Case management system.
Yes.
Where you have to finish your cases within a certain period of time.
Yeah.
For those who are lawyers in this house, if you look at cost lists, last week I was before a magistrate who had 99 cases. Our cost list had 99 cases. Of the 99 cases, she had scheduled about 30 hearings. So just one hearing taking 5 minutes, there are 30. How long would it take? How effective would you be? It's virtually impossible. That's the reality of our times. Now go over and above that to find a Myron somewhere who will try everything possible under the sun to make sure that his client, whether guilty or not, is off the hook. We know these things happen in this country, don't we? That's why she was saying, in her courtroom, she could see every manner of influence seated there. That's the reality. Then you'll find the other reality of our economic realities, right? So the woman, very many women stay in abusive relationships because it's the man who's providing. So at some point she's thinking, if then this man goes to prison, how will I feed my children? Those are realities that we face every day. Hence why you find it becomes difficult for you to prosecute these matters because very many of them are withdrawn, not because the perpetrator is remorseful, but because the victim has doubt as to the what next of their life. You'll find those victims have 5, 6 children. So they're thinking, this is the idiot who provides for me. So as he's buttering you, you're persevering, because then, hence why I started by saying, while we have laws to help us with some of these things, but then we need to move this conversation beyond the law and punishing the perpetrator to prevention. What are then these things that then we can do in order for us to not get to that place where Carolina has to deal with 300 cases?
Yeah.
You get my point? So what are these mechanisms we can then put in place, whether they're extra legal or not, that will then guide us to be able to have then a better conversation next time? So then they're not just sob stories. So then Jerry can have an easier time. And instead of concentrating on the victims, she can then, her work can then transition to these children, their eyes being opened up to better possibilities. Is that so?
Maybe I could say something, just something small about the SGBV courts, yeah? I think it's, like Njeri said, we are seeing SGBV courts, but do you guys know that any court is a GBV court? Do we really need a specialized court, or perhaps empower the courts that we have? Empower, right? Because if I come with an assault case that my husband beat me up, that can be classified as a GBV case, right? I don't need to go to a specialized court. Every court in this country, from resident magistrate all the way, can hear defilement cases. Do we then need very special ones? Perhaps what we need are practice directions as to how fast these cases need to get in and out of the system, right? Yeah, just a thought. But I can see many questions.
And maybe at the same time, not just in court, even you see the way we have even at police stations, we have the children officers, and so maybe we should also have something like that, even at the police station.
Gender
so then,
desks.
These gender desks, because they have gender desks, yes.
I'll give you an example. Next week on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, I am facilitating a training for health workers across Murang'a, Kiambu, Kirinyaga, I think 4 counties. In Murang'a County, my former boss and I single-handedly trained almost all police stations across Murang'a. And I don't mean Murang'a town, I mean Gatanga, Kandara, Kangema, everywhere. We've gone a step forward to train tea farmers, appreciating that they have different gender-based cases from ordinary people. These are things that don't need that much facilitation. Does it make sense? If you have 9 to 11, a group of us here having these questions, and that one was very nice because it was the elderly. And you know, when I walked in, they're like, aka kasichana kanatuambia nini? And I'm lucky because I can speak my mother tongue, so they also got to understand things from a mother tongue perspective. It is possible. And you know what the consequence has been? We have more people walking into our office and saying, Madam, kesi yangu nimepeleka kotini imekaa. I have been put on the spotlight in a meeting. We reported this case. One of your people isn't taking it quickly. Now we have a judgment because of that lady who now had the empowerment to know that you're a duty bearer and I don't need to find you in your office to ask you questions. I can task you when you're anywhere. There are things that can be done.
The reason I also don't think that gender-based violence courts are enough or should also be specialized like that is burnout. Let me tell you, every day listening to cases of violence takes a toll on you. I tell myself every day, the day I stop crying because I've received a case and I'm leaving, I'm quitting, because it means I've become numb and immune to human pain. So, police, I hate this, but let me just say it. Compassion fatigue. Police. Compassion fatigue. Lack of psychosocial support. Who supports police?
Yes.
We all don't support police. I do believe in some things, but I will not say them loudly. The silent part is not loud enough because they did also sign up to do it. But there is compassion fatigue. There is burnout. There is mental breakdown. There is, it's nuanced. So we also need, as we fight,
we're either all in. We need to either be
human
all in.
Human rights is complicated.
Now, what I actually meant was dealing with a stereotype.
You see now, like what
dealing
you're
with the
saying,
stereotype that
yeah.
then comes with it. You go to report a case at the station. What are you told? Cinema penzi.
Yeah.
Where are you to nyumbani? That's not that they are not
Sina
informed.
kuprovidea.
Do you
They
know how
know.
I judge how bad a case is? And this is very unfortunate, is the reaction of the police.
Yes.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
when they're like, oh my God, I'm like, oh my God. Because if the
That's
police is
true.
shocked, this
Yes.
is bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
That's true, by
nothing
the
shocks
way.
those people.
You too.
Oh my
Hey.
God,
Mapenzi.
you know, Jerry, you say that. I mean, it's actually nice that you brought that up as a nice point of humor, because this week I asked my officers, okay, so mumeniletea file. And I kept wondering, okay, what is the big deal? I had the DCIO call me over the weekend, Madam, na ile file usisahau Monday. And I was like, I need to see this file. Because if this person who has been in the system for 20 years is calling on a Sunday to ask me, and I told her, please remind me on Sunday, because also, like what she said about compassion fatigue and nuance, I'm currently struggling with that. I'm struggling with burnout from these cases. And this lady at 2 p.m. had texted me, Madam, nimekutumia message usisahau. When I read the post-mortem, I was like, no wonder they were calling me. Because truly, criminal justice system makes you numb to everything. My sister is in the room, and she'll tell you, there are times she tells me some things, and I'm like, okay, because nothing shocks you, right? Imagine a cop coming, and yeah, madam, ni kubaya. Sasa hii, lazima tuende kotini. You're like, okay, then you go, you see 17 stab wounds, you're like, enyewe hii ni mbaya. Umetengeneza affidavit, madam, hata niko na sample, iko kwa, you're like, this is bad. They see the worst, and they are also acknowledging that it's bad.
What is femicide? I think the question you've asked is, if a man walks down the street and he's killed, and a woman walks down the street and she's killed, it automatically makes it femicide. No. Femicide is very distinct in how it is looked at. Not every woman who is murdered is it considered femicide.
Yeah.
Femicide has parameters. It has things that we look at, measures the patterns of behavior that now we can now call it femicide. It's very much gendered. And most of the time when we look at femicide, we're looking at it from the aspect of, number one, most of the time there's sexual violence attached to it, if it is not intimate partner. That's why even in femicide, we have different types of femicide. So there's intimate partner femicide, which I said could be a spouse, could be an ex, could be somebody who wants you. There is femicide that comes from stalking. And we've seen it. We saw it a week ago, where this man saw this girl coming from church. He's loved her. They left each other long ago. And he came with a motorbike, stopped there, stabbed her in the leg so that she could fall, and then slashed her 20 times on her neck. Do you know the only reason? Stalking. Yeah. Dr. Ivy Wangashi in 2019 was killed by her stalker. Yet all of internet was very willing to say that was her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Now, after we have read the judgment, and you're lawyers, you can go read the judgment. They were never lovers. He's somebody who's always wanted her. So, is that femicide or not? So there are parameters in which we look at when we look at femicide. So for us, sometimes it's even the dumping of the body. How women are dumped. Think about Kware. You see, most men, when they're killed, their bodies are left intact. Not so for women. We are multilayered in so many ways, breasts. Nowadays, we are seeing a lot of violence where once a woman is killed, they mutilate the breast and they also mutilate the pelvic area. Too much CSI is not good for us. Because now in prison, they're telling each other, in order for your DNA not to be taken, kata hiyo kitu. So a lot of times, women bodies are mutilated and dumped like trash. So that is one of the ways in which we know that meets a parameter. A lot of femicide happens to sex workers. Yeah? I don't even think people really consider that. A lot of times femicide is done to sex workers. But sex worker services are sought by men and women. I will not deny that. But when sex workers are killed, who kills them? It's their clients, right? They come back home. They are our husbands, they are brothers, they are whoever they are to us. They come back to us, so it becomes easier for them to kill their wives. We look at all those considerations. There's so many ways in which we look at honor. For femicide, we also look at honor. We look at somebody like Iman, who was killed 17 years old. She did not want to get married, but she was killed. is that is femicide. So femicide has so many gender, FGM.
Yeah.
FGM.
Yeah.
If I am FGM today and I die, what is that?
Femicide.
It is specific to me.
Yeah.
It is to me because I am a woman or I am a girl. And during the act of FGM, I was killed. That is femicide. Because it is specific. That is why we want a specific law that actually looks at it from the angle of the specificity. You can actually be able to establish this is the reason as to why this woman was killed.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. So chances are, if me and you walk down the street, you will be killed, I will be raped, and then I will be killed. That is what sometimes determines why we say that is femicide.
Yeah.
In terms of marital rape, I promise you, first, we don't have a law. Secondly, the only law we have when you have marital rape is if sodomy occurred. Yeah? So if sodomy occurred most of the time, that is when it's considered marital rape. And always, I say this, it is so hard to prove rape in this country. I promise you, in 100 cases of rape, we only win one. So false allegations is very, very, very hard when it comes to rape. My God, the onus of proving rape is always on the victim. So chances of you, even as, I don't even know whether that marital law will pass in this country. Because the people who need to pass these laws are sometimes the very perpetrators themselves. And for me, I feel like, first of all, coming to report rape, we also need to understand the purpose and the work of consent. Because what happens in marriage is consent is very broad. The idea that I own your body, and so I can have sex at any time, which means we don't look as no in marriage the same as if I said no. We don't even look at no when we're in relationship as no.
Yeah.
It's always considered as maybe, perhaps I can convince you. And you see, consent should be always at any time, should never be coerced. If I say no, it should be no. I mean, it is what it is, you know. So for most of the time, consent in marriage is very broad. And so it becomes very difficult, even for the person who is actually, has done, now, which reminds me, the day I went to the police station, the one that, before Mandamano, that man in that police station told me, kulikuwa na mama hapa, na bwana yake alikuwa amemrape, na alikuwa amemwaribu kunyuma, but sijui law, so nilimemfukuza. Sijui nitaandika nini, juu si ni bwana yake. So he chased away. I'm like, uko na namba yake? Because now I wanted to go follow up. Akaniambia, hapana sikuchukua, sasa si ni bwana yake. Hakuna kesi. Now we start there. So that is literally what we say you can prove marital rape. But they were chased from the police station because it's your husband and he deserves your body. Because unfortunately, and I say this with all due respect, women's bodies are the site of violence so many times. You just don't get to see it. Thank you.
I like that you've looked at the homicide section, section 2 or 3. The non-lawyers, allow me to be a little technical here to prove the point. If you look at section 2 or 3, it says so-and-so murdered, so-and-so, right? But let's go to section 8 of the SOA. Are we not able to say if someone defiled a child aged 0 to 11, it's life imprisonment. 12 to 15, 15 to 18. What stops us from doing that with the murder section? Nothing. There are so many. If you think about section 313 on obtaining, the headline there is obtaining. Then we have obtaining money by false pretense. We have obtaining credit. We have obtaining this. We have obtaining that. Look at theft. We have theft of a motor vehicle, theft of stock, theft of that. What stops us from classifying the same way in murder? Nothing. And that argument has been brought. The reason Njeri and I smiled is because we were in a discussion and that came up. What is so special about this one? Kwa nini mnataka ikuwe categorized? Hata si special. Hizi zingine simesha categorize. Si hata im categorize. Those corruption laws which I have interacted with have categories. Corruption of a public officer and corruption of a of a private is very different. What stops us from having the same thing for murder? One of the discussions we've been having in this space is that we have neutral laws. We pass neutral laws, right? Theft. But yet, and this was something we checked the other day, when acute accused person comes to court, acute one, we are very quick to say, hey, uliona we are accused. Do you know what happens in the mind of the magistrate? And this is for future practitioners. I think we did that a lot. The way your client dresses matters. Yes. So I tell my victims as well how to dress. Yes. Aura for? Yes. I have a lady, let's call her Mama Shiko. When she comes to court, she calls me the day before, Madam ulisema nivae aje. I tell her, come looking very smart, but carry your tears at the gate. Pick them up at the gate. They say, oh, we are not here to be emotional. Listen, if I'm going to be emotional, guess who else is going to be emotional? Everyone else. We're all going to be uncomfortable. So if Mama Shiko is there, I understand. She's very smartly dressed. The accused comes in at her. You know, have an accused who comes carrying a Bible to court. Na anaekele hapo chini. Na anafanya nini? Hiona niko na kitu ya kusema. Ongea kwa sauti. Kwa kitu ya kusema. Ongea za sauti. Hiona anataka bond. Unajua sasa nimekuwa pastor. But you're looking at this guy, he did exactly what she's describing. He's alleged to have murdered a girl. And I liked that she flinched. There's a lady who flinched when she described how they're doing it. You know where they cut? They cut from here. I think everyone can see me. They cut victims from here, just above the kitovu, all the way to here. So here. There's one, I have a victim, she was thrown in a well. Ya maji ilikuwa na soil. Alafu akaeka soil huko ndani. Soil automatically contaminates evidence. Right? So when you think like that, those are the nuances we are talking about. It's not just a murder. It is also the way it's being done. The cases I handle where it's men to men, it's mostly tulikuwa kwa bar, tukakunywa, tukakataa kuninunulia keg, nikakugonga ukaanguka. But when you see the violence and the brutality, that is why we need a specific thing. Even in assault cases. Assault, the maximum is 3 years. It's a misdemeanor. Hapo ndio watu wanapewa fine ya 10,000 shillings. But could we have an assault of a child? For example, an assault of a child is very different. When it's assault of a child, we'll charge under the Children's Act. I'll not go to the penal code. But that penal code, can it have boyfriend? See, hizi zingine tuna categorize. Kwani sheria imekuwa special for these ones and these others? No. And that is why it's gendered. That's why this conversation can only be had if we appreciate the gender nuances. Because on the one hand, murder is neutral, but its execution from the reporting to first to the victim themselves, to the reporting, to the handling within the system, is it gender neutral? It's not. A lady will not have, imagine asking a victim, I always ask people this, how many of us had sex last night? I'm asking you guys. How many had sex last night? Who had sex last night? Raise your hand. I didn't, so I'm not going to raise my hand. Who had sex last night? Y'all didn't have sex last night. They're all trying to say they're on rice. Right? In this cold of Nairobi. These are lawyers and they're all liars. They all had sex. Look at but how many of us had breakfast this morning? I had breakfast. Exactly my point. Now imagine a victim walking in, explaining vile alimtoa nguo. Would you have that conversation in public? Now, think about our police stations, think about our courts. That's why we are pushing for this. That's why we are asking for these voices to be heard, because it's not just another murder. Marital rape, I don't know how many of us know. I don't know do you remember there's a time there was a suggestion about marital rape being included in the laws? Yes. That thing, did it even pass the first reading? No. Who knows why? Marital rape will never be a law in this country. If me who's sitting there, I have been named adversely. That's why. And you know what? Criminals are sharp people. I spend my whole day with them. Those people are sharp. Now, because they know that, Njeri and I will get married, because I know that if I rape her before marriage, I'll be taken to court. But if it's marriage, there's nothing to prove. Are we seeing the dynamic of it? So it's not just about, it's not just about saying mtu amepelekwa kotini. It's also thinking about, hii akili mtu ilikuwa wapi? Then you think about the broader pictures. Then you realize that the systems we have aren't adequate. Not even scratching the surface. And not with the way the globally things are changing. We do need things to be done quickly. I keep asking, we are half the population. The people crying about femicide are women who are half the population. Why are we not being heard? There's a very specific reason. And once you start unveiling those reasons, then you have a better understanding of why we are pushing for this. And also then see how the shoe can be in the other foot. And now I've prosecuted women who have raped, women who have defiled successfully, all the way to appeal. Things I can actually stand with. So when people say it's only the men being taken, that's not true. Recently, I think 2-3 months ago, we charged someone for defiling, alikuwa house girl. Na defile mtoto, about 15, 16. And the case is ongoing in court. GBV is not just for the women. It's actually for society. Any of us are going to be a victim. And the less money we have, guess what? The more victims, the more the violence, the more the victims.
That was a wonderful session. The most important thing we can do is let's play our part in the very small ways. You don't have to be Njeri, you don't have to be Carol, because then you don't have the platform that they have, right? But in your own small way, wherever you are, you can play a part. Sawa, we can close there. Asanteni sana. This has been a beautiful one.